Under the Hive of Madness, and I am joined today by two special guests. We have Ickbard and Chalk.
Age before idiocy.
I guess that means me. My name's Chalk. Why can I judge these contests? I don't know. Because I have a big mouth, pretty much. I enjoy the hobby side of 40k a lot, and I won the first painting contest. Woo!
That definitely gets you a couple of points towards qualification. You've had pretty amazing paint jobs the entire time. Just seeing everybody step up and everybody kind of improve little by little.
Oh, it's really cool because the contest let us do something different each time. It feels like I push myself a little bit each time. Of course, for the current one, I've got this big model that's been sitting on my desk for like a couple of weeks, and has had like no paint touched on it. Well, it's got a base coat, but I keep on getting scared looking at it. So,
yeah, I don't know. The thing that I'm painting is not turning out the way I want it to, and I'm trying to decide if I'm stripping and starting over, or if I'm going to be called out by all these big models you guys are doing into a larger model.
I live and die on the obscene scale, and it's fine, man.
Ickbard is our second. Yeah, I guess I should introduce what we're doing. So this is
an intervention. You've been in a coma for 2 months, Jon Stewart. Wake up. They're coming to get you.
Do you watch his podcast? I watch his podcast. Hey, if you see this, I'll totally come on your podcast and talk about plastic people. I realize that's nothing near what you do, but I will come on your podcast.
He lives in LA. He just has to open up a window and shout,
so he just needs to get you and Henry Cavill
on
the same show to talk about 40k stuff.
Plastic.
And you sit on his lap.
I would do that.
I will totally sit on Henry Cavill's lap. I anything for more.
You guys can see. Here, hold up.
He's stroking his eye.
Oh, he's showing calf now.
Look at that. Look at that right there.
You like this?
God damn it, don't laugh! Don't laugh! The slap! I wasn't ready for that.
Me either.
What has this stream turned into?
Speaking of, if you have been keeping up with our painting contest, you guys know that we just concluded our third one. Everybody is frantically painting, or probably not frantically painting. Everybody is in the midst of painting their fourth entries now. One of the things that we decided to do was we decided that the hosts were now going to take part in the painting contest, starting with contest 3. Obviously, the four of us, myself, Marky, Tom, and Kev, can't get up here and judge our own work. That's not really fair. So we turned to some of the painters and some of the past guests that we've had and said, hey, do you guys want to come on and judge us? So, but
I do it for free anyways. Might as well get on,
Might as well record it. So we got Chalk's background. Chalk won our first painting contest and has done pretty phenomenal work the entire time. You've painted at least 3 night models in contests, and then you did 3 chaos abominations.
Well, there was only one model in that one. I painted 3, but only one was fully based and finished because we only needed one model for that contest. Yeah.
Right.
And I'm working on a
and then
what's that big guy? It's Gloom Sprite gets dark thing called Trogoth, which is a huge model.
And they're awesome. So Ickbard, give us a little bit of background on your painting chops. And I guess the soft introduction is that Ickbard painted 2,000 points of Necrons for me. They are the Necrons
3,000.
I currently use. So 3,000?
You sent me a second ship in the middle of it all.
That's right, because I got more stuff. I don't use all 3. Well, now I do.
Yeah.
I use parts of it.
We will.
In different places. You've been doing commission painting for what, a year now?
I've done it pretty much since the beginning of the hobbying, but I've done it successfully like twice. Surprise, surprise. People like to paint their own models, and tournament people tend to have their own people they go to. For the most part, it's been the more I've been working on the community stuff at my own LGS, the more I've pulled back from doing commission painting.
Got it. Makes sense.
I've been more working on that, on the content creation. But when you can paint an entire army in a fortnight, half a fortnight, you can get stuff on the table to record pretty fast.
I'm going through a lot of painting stuff myself right now because I've got a couple of events that I need to be ready for. How about you guys?
And you're trying to catch up to me.
I can do a model a month.
I'm just
easy,
trying to get,
and I'm talking about like a Space Marine, not like a knight. I can paint one of the little dudes a month.
No, you rock on your nights, man. It's always fun to dip into Hobby Progress and see what everybody's working on. I always kind of feel like a schleb because I started 20 Gene Stealers like 3 weeks ago, and they should be done, but
I dig it. I just painted up that heavy mortar I showed last night, and then I tested some highlight effects because I'm going to be building them up for purple and have some fun with that. Building the fluff of my squat guard with the lore to go with it sounds fun to me. They've gotten an overhaul.
I just did a stupid little TikTok video today on things that you don't know, like things that people don't know from your profession. I was an archaeologist, and right now, I can't believe this. It is sitting at something like over 14,000 views. That's never happened before, and it's definitely never happened with my little painting videos. The most I've gotten on that is like 3.
Yeah.
So I don't know how I managed that. Interesting. I know we're completely off topic because we're supposed to be talking about the painting, but the whole thing, people think that like Warhammer or painting or a podcast, they think about it as being a single medium, but it's not.
Yeah.
It's really not. If you want to be successful with a podcast, and obviously I really like your guys' podcast, but it's not just, it's these combined things. It's not, if you want to sit in a hole and paint little plastic models and stick them on a shelf like I do, then that's fine. But if you want to interact with other people, which is, I think, why a lot of this media has started during lockdown. And if you're an introvert like me and would prefer to talk to you guys and talk about the friends I have that I have never seen except over a video link, because that way I don't actually have to go out in public and meet them, which is, the hard part. Like, not go to my LGS to actually play a game of Warhammer. Then that's where the sort of interconnected social media and shared gameplays. I mean, I don't have the time to be a gamer because I have a wife.
Yeah,
and she wouldn't let me do that.
Difficult.
But I interact with people this way. And that's how we make connections these days. It's not just about who you meet down the street, which makes these communities so important, and which ropes us back into like the painting competition, because this is part of what I do to interact with you guys. That's why I do it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'd just be painting here and sticking my things on the shelf because my little ADHD brain needs that calming effect of hyper focusing on something. But it's better when I share it with everybody else.
Yeah. Well, and
I feel it.
Competition can be healthy if it's presented right. Hopefully we're presenting it right. I've definitely been in competitions and schooling situations that have made me feel pretty freaking horrible. So I tried to spend a lot of time getting good at positive critiquing and, obviously looking for technical aspects and looking for aspects for improvement and stuff like that. It was always very, very beneficial. But and that brings us into why we brought you guys on board. We had the community vote, and I went ahead and while these guys were talking and giving me a second, I went ahead and tabulated everything because, like a genius, I made the deadline for voting like right before we started recording. For those of you guys who have already competed in the competition, you'll kind of know this, but just as a quick refresher, if you're in our Discord community and you vote, your vote's worth 1 point. If you're in our Discord community and you've connected it to either Patreon or Twitch, your vote is worth 2 points. If you are a moderator, it's worth 3 points. And this time, if you are a prophet, an admin, a prophet of Gork and Mork, you also got 3 points. This time there were only 4 of us, and we're kind of feeling it out. We only have 2 guest judges. I don't have a panel of 4 guest judges, so we're playing it a little looser. So to give you guys an idea, right off the top, Tom is leading the pack with 22 points. Marky and I are tied for second place with 10 points each, and Kev is sitting at 3 points. So you guys get the same votes that we get. You get a third place, a second place, and a first place. So we'll go ahead and review everything. Not that I meant to start with myself, but I think alphabetically, because I'm Goblin King,
Let's see if I get the name right. These are the present man-eaters or something like that.
The
prescient. All right. Eons before the Tau pulled themselves from their mud holes, the Kroot had ranged across the stars. Spacecraft carried forward generation upon generation, like dandelion seeds scattered on the solar winds of the galaxy. While prolific in how far they ranged, these Kroot pioneers had little desire to codify or maintain an empire, choosing instead to retain a loose tribal coalition when and if they crossed paths. This had suited the shapers of the prescient as they settled into a clutch of worlds separated from the galaxy at large by the swirl warp storm of the Yoromander Rift. Free to operate as mercenaries to the highest bidder outside the storm's confines while enjoying the safety it provided. None of this history mattered to Akcheta. What mattered was the Rat Men had unified behind a warlord. First taking the fortress worlds of the humans and their mechanical men allies, then threatening the balanced coexistence that had rested over the Kroot worlds. Forcing the enclaves to emerge from their hidden grottos and glades, showing their true strength for the first time in a generation. War bands like his had been called to return to the homeworlds, bringing with them the weapons and training they had earned fighting for the humans across the Gothic sector. Under him, the big Groot Gore huffed, exhaling streaming breath from his tusked mouth and nostrils. It had been years since even the beast had tasted the cold air of prescient. Akcheta reached down and patted the beast's shoulder, reassuring the great shaggy boar. To his left and right, a chorus of Kroot Gores snorted out their own restless energy. The Braves and his unit shifting in their saddles, Bolterglaive silent as they watched the Skaven in the canyon below.
Let's move on to the next one, which is Kev's models. So Kevin did not write a lore snippet, but I do know a little bit of Kevin's lore. So Kevin's Imperial Guard army is based around the soldiers that follow, or the soldiers who have been unified under the banner of a rogue trader. The rogue trader basically, as she moves about the galaxy doing different things, she collects wayward units, abandoned guardsmen, and pulls them together. And the Imperium, the Administratum, basically gladly allows this to happen. So he's got a mixture of different units. I like what he's got going on here. There's I'm pretty sure this is, I think, a Space Marine scout rifle and cloak. I'm not 100% sure. I'd love to ask him how he did it. It could also be a guard unit. I'm far enough out of collecting official guard units that I might be wrong. So these are Kevin's guys. We've got a commander. We've got a psyker, sanctioned psyker, not a wind rave psyker, wind riv psyker. I'm screwing that up. Weird wave?
Weird vein.
Weird vein, thank you. And then a sniper. So pretty cool. All right, on to Marky. Who's got Marky's lore?
That'd be you.
It's pretty short. Fine. I just winged Kevin's lore. Come on, man. I didn't really wing it.
I gave you a breath.
If you guys are interested in knowing what more about Kevin's lore, by the way, we just did an episode on Kevin's
it was
lore,
a really good one.
Not too long.
Episode 35.
Yep. So Marky's lore. Rip the flesh from their bones. What is this magic? It burns my flesh. But power, the power that swells inside me. Oh, the power. Now we are legion with him. We will lead this army into glorious battle with our newfound power. For we are now his help.
So I assume that's some chaos army. But
yeah, these are blood letters.
Okay.
Corninate blood letters.
Right.
Oh, a jawline that can cut through gender stereotypes. Look at that.
So this is, we are now on to Tom's, and this picture is the inspiration for the model that Tom painted. Tom's knight lore is all based on different things from the Disney universe. So,
show me your tattoo, Chuck.
Which one?
Which one?
So my whole arm
Take it all off.
Is Disney. I've got Tinkerbell on the back there, which you can't very well see, is Stitch. Up here is Jack Skellington. And then, of course, it's hard to see there because my arm don't turn that way, is Grogu holding a Dole Whip. And when it gets finished, it's all going to be tied together with fairy dust and a few other things. So it's a full sleeve.
I respect it.
My tattoo artist keeps on wanting to add more things to it.
Definitely not by your own ambition. It's your tattoo artist.
Well, he wants to add. Do you ever remember the Robin Hood, the animated Robin Hood?
Yeah.
Everybody had a crush on the fox girl Maid Marian. Well, there's the sheriff is the snake, the boa constrictor, and he wants to have that wrapping over my shoulder.
Oh, that's kind of interesting.
And you're like, well, it's not my favorite movie and not my favorite character from that movie. But he's like, but they would look really cool. And he looks stoned. And we're like, I don't partake in that. He's like, yeah, but still. Like,
he does look stoned.
Sourdough bread wasn't code, Chuck?
What was that?
So sourdough
bread wasn't code?
These are California jokes that go way over my Iowa head. All right.
Damn right.
So who is reading Tom's lore as I click through his sexy pictures? That's right.
Tis I.
You voluntold yourself.
This is Baron Naveen de Maldonia, a Dominus Valiant Armor, named The Last Kiss. Planet, Ludoviciana. House Byzantine, allied with Questor Imperialis. In the Avalon system, the planet, Ludoviciana, is currently unknown for its status. However, it's classified as a feudal world. Ludoviciana was a planet covered in mass swamps and wetlands, with the larger of the few dry areas housing major cities. The capital city was called Crescent City, named because of the quarter moon shape of its outer walls guarding it from fauna. It was a city defined and shaped by waterways so much that so many of its inhabitants travel through it on small, man-made alleys and use the skiffs to travel over the marshy area. It's a world renowned for its distinctive music, cuisine, dialects, and its annual celebrations and festivals. Most notably, of its festivals was an event called Adipum Martis, a 12-day-long festival of feasts and living rich to honor the House Byzantine. For the 12 days, the High King had visited the world to bring the noblemen into the house. Baron Naveen de Maldonia is the bastard son of one of the high nobles of Antebellum. A sister city to the capital was known that of a flirtatious womanizer. In his youth, he was the only living heir to his father, but that changed 3 years after his ritual of becoming, when his father and stepmother gave birth to a son. He escaped to Crescent City with his servant after his father had him exiled and cut off to all inheritance by his family. Naveen was doomed to become a freeblade due to his banishment and disgrace. But Naveen was not one to follow tradition. He had always wanted to be free from his duties as a noble. He took his Dominus Valiant class armor, named Last Kiss, deep into the city and locked it away in a catacomb. Last Kiss was no normal Valiant. It was heavily modified and embossed with beautiful filigree, markings of his father's house. The legs were altered to allow him to travel through the deepest and difficult of the marshy wetlands that covered the planet, even allowing him to leap into battle against the reptilian and insectoid creatures that live in the deep bayou of the swamps. Naveen took much delight in being on his own in the city, living it up from one night to the next with no responsibility. Soon, though, his actions became noticed. An evil man corrupted by Tzeentch, known simply as the Shadow Man, a doctor of true power, as he called himself. He began to whisper in the ear of Naveen's servant, Lawrence, slowly twisting and corrupting his beliefs till he was willing to betray Naveen, believing that he would take over as him and retake control of his father's house. He craved power, most of all. The Shadow Man, with help from his friends on the other side, helped him change Lawrence to appear that he was Naveen to all those that knew him. Naveen was twisted and changed into a disgusting, hairless, slicked-skinned, bulging-eyed, mucus-covered reptilian-like crimson of his former self. Naveen, horrified in himself, fled into the dark, wet alleys of the city, while Lawrence went to find the daughter of the richest, noblest house in all of Crescent City.
Are we left on a cliffhanger?
Yeah, he wanted to purposely leave it on a cliffhanger.
I like it. As the host who doesn't get a vote, or who doesn't get 3 votes, I voted for Tom's model. This model is fucking amazing. I really, really like the green and gold, and it's such a bright green, and I would not have picked it for a night color, and I think it works really well. I also have to give props to Tom, because Tom and I are the ones that have the base. Should it be a based diorama, or should it be based plain argument all the time? And he based the crap out of this thing, which is dope.
It fits with the lore that he wrote for it, and I think really that's it's almost like when you're buying like trading cards for like TV shows, and it shows like young Gohan, old Gohan. Like, right. This is the time capsule of him, like before he gets like turned properly.
Gotcha.
Well, if you know my
very, very cool.
If you know my night models, you know that I like doing bases for them.
Oh, so yeah. You got some awesome.
You're the reason I stepped it up for Sammy the Stormlord.
I don't just like putting some, doing some glue and sprinkling some, I don't know, some like snow over it and calling it done.
Hey. Are you calling out my snow bases?
No, I would never do that.
You didn't say your name, but it's your fault. You replied. You failed the bitch test.
But there are 2 things that I like on some of these models: the kit bashing and the bases. Tom has a wonderful base, and if you don't know knights, you don't know how much kit bashing went on here, or 3D printing.
I think he ordered leg extensions.
He did. So the leg extensions are not standard. So if you notice, it's a 3-jointed leg, which I really like. But also, if I'm not mistaken, when you look close at and I don't know where he got this from, but if you look close at the armor, all those are all 3D. All the gold on it. That's
not on the model.
That's on the model, but what I'm saying is that those are not standard armor pieces either.
Oh, that's cool.
So either
I know
he built.
I know he ordered some armor upgrades from a company.
He did. These are all armor upgrades. He has got the.
He wanted that French Quarter.
They're looking very. Maybe they should have a red light on it, but it's looking very 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 pretty. But those armor pieces are not standard, and he's got the double jointed leg, and also that is not a standard missile launcher on top. So I think the only thing of this that came out of the GW kit was the skeleton. I think the
superstructure,
the upper half of the skeleton.
The upper half of the skeleton, yeah, because the lower half of the skeleton, I think you only have to add on one joint. I don't think it's a full leg replacement. I think
got it.
I think you're just adding a joint. But then I think all the armor is not from a standard GW kit, or the majority of the pieces are. Any of the ones that have that gold filigree on it, that's not from a GW kit. They're not that embellished, at least if they're not.
I just figured he had found some super crazy Forge World model. All right, guys. What do you wanna? Do you want to jump into third place picks? Who wants to go first?
I'll go first. So my
all right.
Third place is, this one's tough, and my third place is either Marky or Kevin.
Which one am I going to?
I wish there was
Flip a coin. Which one do you hope it to be?
Angle on the two things. The problem with both of these is, one, I wish on the guard photos had a lower angle shot so I could see them better, and on Marky's demons, the focal length is so short on these that it's hard to see them all, and it's hard to see what's going on in the background. But I think that
get that blurred kind of Vaseline look.
Yeah, I think Marky gets my third place pick. I like the custom stuff on the banner, and I think they're cool models.
Very
so that's
cool.
mine.
Well, that brings Marky's total up to 13 points. Let's take a look at that banner. He did some spawn.
Yeah. So looking at Kevin's guardsman, first of all, yes, he doesn't have any lore up, but that lore episode was amazing, and I really liked it, and especially because without knowing it, he stole a lot of ideas from me. So let me just put it straight up there. I wish he'd been a little bit more involved with the bases. I'd also like to know if, like, that sniper rifle, if that was kit bashed or not, or if that was a standard kit. I don't know. The skin tones were good.
I feel like those are arms and the rifle from the old Space Marine Scout set.
And I don't think that the third model was I don't think he did anything to the base of the third model. So
yeah.
Well, so a little bit on that, the Sanctioned Psyker. He actually bought the Sanctioned Psyker kit from me. I had 3 of them, and they were fully painted. So I know for a fact that he completely stripped and repainted. But yeah, I had a bunch of, I think I had rocks and grass on the base. So I wouldn't be surprised if it was a pain in the ass to strip everything off, or he may have just given up and slotted it into a new base.
Yeah, into a new base.
Could be a thing.
But just because he fell into 4th place does not mean I don't think these are amazing paint jobs, especially the flesh, because that's so friggin' hard. And these guys are small, and it's a clean job. If you look at a lot of their gear and all, so it's really cool. I like the big piece of terrain too.
Yeah. Ickbard, who is your third place?
I'm going to derail this and go with my 4th place.
Okay.
Just because it's 4 and then go up to the 3. My 4th is also going to be Kevin.
Okay.
Mainly, the things I want to point out some things I love about it before I slap the taste out of people's mouths. It's not even that bad. There's nothing really to complain about.
Mm-mm.
But it's I'm reading this from a script, and I'm definitely not under any duress. I love the 3 of them. It looks like if we had a 40k version of like Gimli, Aragorn, and fucking Legolas hanging out trying to figure out which way to go. Just 3 guys going on a road trip and none of them know the directions, and that's why the dude's got the massive headache. Yeah. They're just hanging out trying to figure out where they're going, and I love that. It looks like their map quest failed halfway through and they're trying to wing it, and it's just that little story you can get from all 3 of them together, just like that. The paint job adds to it, and I love it. That's like meant to be as much as a compliment as it can be, because you're setting a scene even without the fucking crater. One thing I do have to admire and respect, and you kind of have to do this when you play your guard, is he's going to the tried and true KISS method. Keep it simple, stupid. Don't try to go too crazy. Let the work speak for itself, and don't feel like you need to put $50 lipstick on a pig. Make it what it is: rugged, old sculpts, unique patterns, and go from there. And I love that. And that's something that we don't see enough. We see too many people trying to do the high-painted, overly glazed, like highlights on every little thing, ultra plus ultra red combo colors, when this is more than serviceable and more than fun to see on the table. That passes the 5-foot test as easy as anything you'll get from someone using only an airbrush. Cons for it, and they kind of bleed in a little bit to Marky's, who is my 3rd place, by the way. So, spoilers. I don't know if I'm trying to be sold on models, or if I'm trying to be sold on presentation. The lighting, the colored lights hitting them, different exposures and such. Having it in terrain is one thing, but if that terrain doesn't even match with the base, it's a bit of a non-bow. Very good reason as to why Tom doesn't base his bases, if we're gonna insert that old chestnut of a meme. I want to be sold on something there, but I'm not being sold on the paint job. I'm being sold on the... It's like all the little filigree and lettuce someone puts around a fancy meal. I'm trying to focus on the meal. And that's the way I feel about a lot of this lighting and presentation, especially with the camera angles. I felt like there were a bit, like that's like probably the best one right there, and you still have one guy entirely out of focus for it. So it's like you have to really try to get that all around, which we have enough to look through.
None of the pictures do we ever get a good look at the sanctioned psyker.
Yeah,
correct.
Yeah,
like the best one is like that front, front one, like the flat. Yeah, that. Those 2 are like the best, and it's the overhead light's a little too strong. It's starting to wash out things. It's no longer assisting or hiding things that you want to hide. It's now creating a mood or a tone, which again, I'm trying to eat the burger, not the thing you've dressed the plate on, which makes it hard to go through. But because we have the different colors here, at least, I can contrast, pull it out, and then see a model more at the face value that it is.
I get to say it once. Fucking mold lines. Right down the center of the sniper.
Minus 10 points. You made me 3rd place.
Over
mold lines.
Does the sniper have a blue face paint, or is that just the blue light catching it?
I think it's just the light. All right.
That's what upset me with this one.
All right. So so Marky is your 3rd place. And same
with Marky.
Same basic gist as the lighting and the presentation aren't as flat as you'd like it to be, essentially.
It's the lighting. The lighting is done a bit more boldly on this one, which is a shame because it only takes away from the great paint job he did.
Yeah,
because it is a great paint job.
You can see a little bit of touch.
For those who painted with black and had to highlight it without making it look gray, that right there, I'm getting back pain looking at that model, because this is what he did probably for 5 hours.
Yeah, well, and all of it
just hunched over it, getting those details. But yeah, it's like I love these models. Like, if there's like any actual like that looks like someone took the fucking ooze from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles like cartoon, and then they just threw it at people and just stuck there. Like, look at that blend. That just it's like you just look at it and it's like it's not crazy bright, but it's just crazy potent, and it's just unabashedly there. And I love that type of striking stuff. I wish I could see these on a gray background, flat, neutral, soft lighting, so I could just eat it up, because I'm envious of the blades themselves. Is something that I can gush about.
Oh, and he's only doing like 35 more of them.
No, I feel it.
All right, cool.
I see that two-tone on the sword.
Yeah. Shock, are you good for your second? Are you ready to roll into your second? All right. Yeah. Where are we going?
Well, we are going to you.
All right.
There is, and actually, it's just about a tie between you and obviously Tom is my favorite, and I'll tell you why. So if people don't know Kroot, they don't know how limited a model range there is. And they don't know that this is not a model. This is not a Kroot model at all. Matter of fact, when I'm looking at this, so we pull in here and we look at all of the guys, all four of the guys. So first of all, those bolter glaives, right off the bat, that doesn't exist. Obviously, the beast that they're riding, that's probably from an Age of Sigmar model.
Yeah,
and I'm not sure. Is it from like a greenskin model?
No, it's the ogre, the frozen ogres. I can't. The Morn Fangs. That's what they're called.
Morn Fangs.
Yeah, those are Morn Fangs.
So they're not from the Auric line. They're from. I'm still trying to learn the Age of Sigmar stuff, but
yeah, they're one of the well, back in the day they were Orc aligned, but they're the ogre guys, the pirate ogres.
Right. And then looking at was some of this 3D printed?
The bases are 3D printed, because I have been experimenting with how I want snow bases to be done. So I made a bunch by hand, and then I 3D printed these. I've been playing back and forth trying to figure out.
But the Kroot themselves, what were they riding before, or were the bottom halves? Did you print the bottom halves and slap the top halves on, or
nope? No? I cut and pinned the legs, and then used green stuff to fill the gaps.
Okay, this is a really, really good kit bash job. I've been following a lot of people. There's this movement online that is the defense of Peck, I think. And I think that's a tag you can put in on Instagram. And it's really pushing for people who are doing all Kroot armies. And the whole story behind it is basically they don't like the Tau. They feel that some of the war bands feel that and Shapers feel that the Tau screwed them over, and we shouldn't do this. Don't eat other people. Don't eat Tau, sort of thing. And they basically are rebelling against the greater good. And people are building these all Kroot armies. A lot of times they are kit bashing with various things. Sometimes they're putting, it's as simple as putting Kroot heads on Tau models and saying that it's looted stuff. Other times we get things like you did, and this is simply awesome. I really, the thing that gets me the most is those damn bolter glaives. They are really, really nice. So did you just basically attach a bolter to a spear and then put a chainsword on it? I mean, how'd you do that?
So it's a brass rod. Let's see if I can't find okay, this is a pretty good one. So it's a brass rod that is drilled into the actual, so from this trigger mechanism to this leather wrap, that's actually the Kroot rifle.
Okay, that's the Kroot rifle. Okay.
Yeah. So then there's a brass rod that goes from about the middle of the bolter all the way down, and then this is a piece of the butt, the pommel is made with a piece of plastic, and then the blade is off the Crute rifle as well. And then the bolters, I cut the mag well and moved it back so I could make room for the underslung chainswords. And then I just took chainswords that seemed to fit. I shaved everything down, pinned them again. So there's a couple little pins that go up into there that hold the chainsword in place, and that was it. I made, to date, I have made, well, taking out heavy weapons. So obviously the rocket launcher guy doesn't have one, and my laser rifle and my plasma guy don't have bolter glaives, but I've made 42 bolter glaives to date, which is a lot of sourcing bolters that are not attached to hands and finding chain swords no one's using. I have 3D printed a couple of hands, and I 3D printed a couple of like grenades and stuff, but I've done very, very little 3D printing. I wanted to do as much kit bashing with this idea as I could.
So I actually have 3 or 4 boxes of Crute carnivores sitting over here waiting for, you know, that project that's been kicking around in my head that I have all this time for. And so I really like these. And for all these, everything I'm saying is the reason why I was going back and forth between you and Tom's stuff. I mean, because I think this is really good. And that's all my positive. If I'm talking about negative stuff, the only real negative, okay, well, I already sort of ragged on you about the snow bases, but actually the snow bases are pretty good. Is I wish there was a little bit more contrast in the fur.
Yeah, the fur was a bitch to paint.
Yeah, and I'm not sitting here saying that I am a expert on fur, but I would think sort of like, you know, paint, wash, and then dry brush over it, trying to pull the tips out, because those seems like this would just be perfect. That texture would be perfect to get something like a nice sort of contrasting wash down into them to sort of accentuate the pieces. And then, but then the problem that a lot of people do with washes and all is that you mute the highlights and you got to bring them back.
So that's exactly what happened here. So the entire model was painted layered white and dry brushed with blue horror, and then I applied Beltane blue ink to the entire thing, and then it was too freaking dark. So I actually went back in with blue horror as a dry brush, and then I hand painted the tips of the fur with white to try to actually bring it back out. And you can kind of tell, like that's all the ink coming through. All of those blue spots is that ink still coming through, and I just couldn't quite build back up to the consistency that I wanted. And I think a lot of the problem is I only used Citadel paints on this model, and in the last 3 weeks, so since I finished these guys, I have learned a lot about how other paints are way better. Other whites are way better than Citadel whites. I love Citadel paints. I think that they're probably my favorite. They flow really well. They hold really well, but their whites and their blacks are super chalky. And this with so much white, I very much paid for it. But yeah,
I've been trying to figure out a way to recreate what is it, Uthalon white or Uthalon gray and Korax white without using their colors, because those things suck.
Yeah,
they're so hard to paint with.
Yeah.
Whatever it is.
Why is a Yenden yellow orange?
Yeah. And so it's tough. So I like it when companies are making it good. And I think you're right. I think it's just muted. It looks a little too, there's not enough contrast in your fur.
Yeah.
And you probably overpainted it. I think you're right.
Yeah, there's a couple too many layers. The big things that I would have done differently, and since I'm here, I get to say this. Haha, Mark not being on. But the big thing I would have done differently is I did.
Love you, Mark.
I did do green stuff to their snouts. I blended the eyebrow into the nose. That's not done on the actual model. There's a very big definition. And that was my like how to make them beaks. And I also green stuffed these quills. So I would have made these quills a lot thinner, and I would have actually beaked out the front of the face a little bit more if I could go back and redo it. I probably wouldn't have painted them white. I probably would have painted them gray and then washed and then done my whites. I think that probably would have helped me out a lot.
Yeah.
And that's actually a big lesson I learned. So these Kroot models started as blue horror, and blue horror was not turquoise enough. So I went from blue horror to contrast, the Leviathan blue contrast, and then I finished it off with like Goss Blaster.
You see, it's almost empty for a fucking reason.
And I finished it off with like Goss Blaster green, and oddly enough, that combination got me like almost exactly the turquoise skin I wanted.
That's
so
a
I'm
really
really
good
happy
skin
that
color.
I found it. But the other thing that I screwed around with is the snow is actually the technical snow paint. And I did that for a reason. So I bought the Valhallan technical snow paint from Citadel. I bought the Armor Painter Sprinkle Snow from Army Painter, and I bought the Vallejo Snow Ground Texture. And I've tested all of them out to try to figure out where I'm going to go. And where I'm going to go is all three of them. All three of them need to be mixed together to get that like layered what snow actually looks like. But these, I was trying to get that they're walking on broken ice. So, all right. So before I talk about my own models for another 45 minutes, Ick, who is your third or second place?
So my second place was originally going to be you, Ryan.
Ouch.
But I'm glad Chalk went ahead of me because I scrutinized every piece here pretty harshly, more harsh than I would do to people, but because it's a competition thing and it's something that you can kind of play up and pull back, rather than underdo it, I was like, Tom's is near masterpiece. Like, this is what I would want to see. It hits the beats for the lore, what he's talked to me about, what I know, because I got to watch them. I got to go see the movie in the actual like Disney Animation Studios like early release thing for Princess and the Frog. Like, Disney is my big thing. I've been to Disneyland over 56 times in my life, and I'm gonna try to get at least another 56 before I get tired of it. Like, that's like my summer home, frankly. I love that place, and I love Disney everything. Like, if I were to take photos of my house, it's covered in Disney art through the decades. So going through it all, it hit all the beats. I loved it, and then I saw this and I went, "That's really cool. I like the way XYZ goes." For the pros here, honestly, the attentiveness. It's an outstanding model. The metal feels like it's proper metal. Like, you can look at it and you go, yeah, that looks like that needs some oil in it, or it's going to like cause a friction burn here, because too many people go super glossy or super grungy, and there's a beautiful in between here where we can really see metallic shine throughout the guts here. Tom was so eager to talk about this thing for so long, talking about playing this damn thing, talking about building it, talking about like how he wants to get it done, the legs he's getting, and I can see why, because I can see that spark, that childlike joy, that excitement in this actual model. Like, there's a soul in it, and I have to respect it and give it that credit that it's due. So you can't look at that and not go, you can't say love was not put into that work. Even if I didn't talk to him about the lore stuff and work through it all, because we were talking about it before, this was whole thing was we're going to bring in people to judge their stuff. We talked about all the Disney stuff, and I was keeping pace with him, and we talked about how much we love that New Orleans type culture and the swamps and everything, and how that's so distinct, pulling it all in. changing it all up to Latin, having fun with that kind of thing, and making it built in, and being able to just read it. It feels rich. I love the way this model just comes out so bright, so strong, so vibrant, without being an eyesore, because that's exactly what Prince Naveen was in the movies, and it's the way he was shown in the lore that was written down here. This is a strutting peacock in a city of dark Spanish moss, and it wants to be seen, it wants to be loved, it wants to be heard. It's in your face, and you love it. And that embodies this model. I have maybe 2 gripes and a third one, but that's just for photo taking. Nothing about the model itself, and doesn't actually detract from the model for the most part. The green lines for the framework there, like, they might have needed to be done a little thinner. The paint on it feels a little too thick applied, the dark framework, because I could see where some of it spills off into other areas, and when you have such a bright model and you have those dark frameworks on it, your eye catches those corners, and they end up coming out more than I think people want to. Second part is, I believe it's the next photo. Waiting for it.
I went to the next photo.
It's still showing the same. Oh, there it is. Okay. So weird. Let me get my reading glasses on. The part on the left, right there, under the top part of the carapace. I can't tell if that's more Spanish moss and not just like on the leg, like it was on the legs over there, or if that's just accidental smudging from the armor. Because it looks similar enough to me. You know what I mean?
To me, it all came across as that like moss that's just sort of settled on the model, the knight, the longer it's sat.
Yeah, and it's like that's one of the things that I pause on, not because it's in any means like sloppy or anything. It's just I cannot tell the difference. That might have needed to have a little more work done to show that, to like really go swamp is like on there. Maybe
some of it's playing with color too. Dryad Earth, which is a base, is really good, and then I can't remember, like Silithane something is the wash, and they're different enough from Moot Green, and I would say Dark Angel's Green, but I know that Dark Angel's Green isn't a line color anymore. And I think what he did, which I usually really like, was that he stuck within a color band. But I think this is one of those cases where if you want the organic to look different, that the combination of Dryad Brown with that Silithane ink really does give that kind of like grungy, mossy look. So.
Yeah, you want that kind of that dark brownish, almost under hue with the yellow kind of popping over the green. Yeah, exactly. And the third and final thing, and it's like nothing against the model, it's literally just, why pick a red backdrop when I want to ogle your fucking tongue gun? Like, if it's the same shade, which it looks to me pretty much almost the same shade as the background itself, it makes it so hard for me to be able to go, yeah, this is his, I believe it's last kiss.
The harpoon.
That's the last kiss, like, weapon. Yeah. That thing is ready to party. And I wanted to revel in it, that this is the cool thing. This is, Naveen has the legs, but he has this harpoon. Which one are you more worried about? I want to be able to go, whoa, about it and get excited with it, but it's hard because of the background for it. And that's literally nothing against the model. It's just, let me love your work more, damn it. So speaking of pains in the dick, I have a night guy. So my friend Handicrafts. Hi Handy, I love you. He does a lot of Forge World and Titanic models. I sent him a message with one of the photos for Tom's Night, and I asked him about the weapons and such, about what was third party and what wasn't. And from what he saw that he looked at it, he couldn't because there was such a big investigation on it. I was just so interested. He talked about how the weapons, for the most part, like the skull is from someone called Tarot Model Maker, which makes sense because I love that. He said he didn't know where like the carapace was done, but aside from like the third leg joint, basically everything is and the armor. He's figuring it's all more or less the same. The triple flamer, he's saying looks familiar to him because he deals with a lot of the Forge World Knights. That's almost his exclusive like range to build from.
So that's probably a Forge World weapon, which makes sense.
Yeah,
not on anything I could see on their catalog. I have to say, I was just on there.
Huh.
Ooh, I need to get you in handy into a call together, and then have it be like fight, and both of them be like the fuck it.
All right, so Chalk, who is your first place?
Well, my first place is Tom, and obviously, so basically, what I mean. Honestly, it was close between you two guys. It was really close by 1 to 2, because your crew has so much kit bashing on. But I just think that night, and I'm not doing this because hey, I'm a night guy. But when you build a lot of the same models, you sort of know the areas that it can be tough. And let me tell you, I have stripped so many carapaces and other pieces of armor. Like you get it all done and you're like, it didn't work.
Yeah.
Toss it into the ultrasonic cleaner, strip it off, come back, do it again. Well, anyway, so let's talk about, so what I liked about it, I like the metal. I really like the skeleton underneath. I think that was a really good job. It's tough. I just realized that I didn't paint up all my I didn't put together all my weapons for my Canis Rex, and now I have to go back and do them. And I'm going to have to try to match some skeleton, the colors of the skeleton underneath with the colors I've already painted. Ooh. And I don't write things down.
Yeah, I started doing that.
So that's horrible.
I started doing that with my crew because I know my crew project is going to be so long. I finally started keeping a painting journal.
So I never write things down because I like that idea that you're going to get a different color for like a different kind of lighting on the thing and lets it differentiate, because usually you can eyeball stuff close enough.
Yeah, but when you're interchanging pieces on the same model, you sort of want them to look the same.
Yeah, look at you using facts and logic.
Not between models. Each, like for my knights, it's all the same color scheme. They're all green and purple, basically, with accent colors. But that doesn't mean I'm doing the same greens and purples on every night. It's just an overall theme. So that can vary. But so I really like the trim. Trim is a pain in the butt to do. The trim's really nice. I like the amount of modifications that were done on. I like all the little custom pieces. I just thought it was really well put together, and I like the base. It just seems, I think Knights can tell a story a lot more than the Knights can be just like, all right. So you go on, you look in the book, or you look on a lot of stuff online, and people's like, I painted up my house Tyrannus. I painted up blah, blah, blah. And you know what they look like? Yeah, people might do a really good job, but it looks like the box art, and it doesn't tell a story. The thing that really set me why I really went to Tom's instead of yours, Gobbo, is his tells a story. And it's unique, and it fits with his lore, and I really like that. I don't like when you see pictures of knights, it doesn't matter how technically they're done, if they look like every other knight from the same army, because you know how people go. I'm much more for, like, if I do a Space Marine chapter, I'm not doing, well, okay, I've got a whole Grey Knights army, but I'm not, other than Grey Knights, I'm not doing like Ultramarines or Night Lords or anybody like that. I want to do my own chapter because it's not the same as everybody else's, and I can do my own lore, and I can tell a story through the painting and the modeling. And I think that's what Tom does. That's why I liked it so much. I like that it didn't look clean. I like the moss. I like I really like the small diorama on the base. But when you get to the actual night stuff, also, it's really clean. The one thing where I could call him out on the cleanness of it, and I'm not calling him out too hard because God knows I do the exact same thing, is if you look close up on the filigree, like you zoom in, you don't go from the picture that's on like Discord. You actually pull it all the way up to a high res, full screen. You'll notice that not all of the vertical edges on the filigree are painted. And the reason why I'm not calling him out, because what he did is he painted the armor, he base coated the armor, and then he painted the gold on top. And you know what I do? I do the exact same thing, which means you don't tend to get the vertical sides of it. You could try edging, but what happens is it's really hard not to hit your armor. And if you're doing something like me who does airbrushes with blends, you can't touch that up.
Yeah.
You just can't. So if I had to call out something, it would be that. But like I say, I'm not calling it out too heavy because that's what my models look like. And there's a lot of gold on this model.
There is definitely a lot of gold on
it. He could have on, like, if you look at the harpoon and the if you look at the triple flamer, he could have done some extra color back in there. Like he could have done some more brass on it or whatever to break up those same colors. I try to do that. But once again, a lot of stuff, if you want to do it really good, it's a lot of really, really fine detailing and with metallics, and it's a pain in the butt. So I'm not calling out too much on that. Overall, I think it's a wonderful model. And if you step back at the regular resolution, all those little things I was just nitpicking about, you wouldn't see.
5 foot rule.
Yeah, definitely. And I think this is just an awesome model. And like what I said, the thing that put me to give him first place rather than second is how much of this model tells a story. And probably because I like that, because if you look at my models, I try to do the same thing. That's all. Don't always succeed, but I try. So that's my 2 cents, or more than 2 cents on that.
All right, Ickbard, where are we going?
For yours, Ryan. Talked about you were originally going to be my number 2 as well. Chalk and I did not talk, did not collude. We were lockstep otherwise. Up until, Chalk went first on talking about his second place, you, and when you started talking about these models. And I mentioned earlier, and as Chalk has done as well, gone through the process, open up on a different tab, zoom in, look at different areas, make sure that your monitor isn't having a weird contrast thing, make sure it's like proper, go through it all, nitpick your details, go at it from a forensic point of view, analyze it, then appreciate it. I did all that, and I thought those were something that you just built off a sprue, because that was the way it's meant to be, except for the weapons, because we talked about those before. You snuck that right under my nose, and I had no fucking clue.
That right there is ewy. Why didn't I see that when I was painting it? There's a little black line right there that's icky. Anyway, sorry.
No, it helps. It helps do the shadow there, dude.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Pull your titties. So the fact that the only major thing I felt about this model, this model like batch, negative wise, really was the fur, as talked about. But in general, if it wasn't if it was, it's there's really only two color, like the depth we're talking about in saturation. It's basically yellow or blue is more or less where you kind of have in that vein, and there's not too much separation for like the leather on the harnesses to that metal plate on the shoulders. I didn't realize that was metal at first, or if that wasn't supposed to be metal, it looks a little too metallic and
That's
shiny
brass.
compared to the leather bag.
Yeah,
brass. It took a second to realize that because it melded a little too much with the saddle and everything. Besides that, you hit everything that I want to see here. There's a story being told with models. I, going through it all, went, okay, these guys take care of their packs. Everything on here that can be preserved in a reasonable manner for someone on an expedition is. Their packs are clean. There's not a bunch of oil and grease. Their weapons are well maintained in a beautiful stark contrast to the bones and the way they just naturally degrade and get their own coloring and weathering. The gear, look at that fucking frog leg. That's or what I called it's a fucking frog right there. Whatever equivalent frog.
Whatever lizard animal.
Whatever Tom's Knight would eat in Byzantine New Orleans. It just hits it so vibrant, and it shows there's a care and attention to the gear, which shows an attention and alertness and savviness to these individuals. And that's a conclusion I went to before you posted your lore for them. So when you hit that beat for beat for beat from what I was able to assess, and you told a full story through just the gear on them. And I, going through all those details, did not know you kit bashed the model to be on a saddle and everything there in between and make something pretty much brand spanking new. Blew me away so much I had to give you the first place for that.
Well, I was going to say, I think you can actually see right there, my green stuff work isn't that smooth. I think that's the knee.
I just realized by looking around what had bothered me about the beasts, and this is what would have swept around and gotten you my first place vote. It's not the monocolor on the fur. It's not the fur. It's that the fur and the skin is the same color.
Oh, the bare skin patches that they've got?
The bare skin patches you see on the knees, you see places where the skin's been either ripped away or braided away, and you see like the fur is. So you can't see my pointer. But
right
like
here.
On the shoulder, on the rump, on the face, that's all the same color.
Yeah, it's
that's what.
Yeah, it's Corax white. It was me trying to fix the color issue.
So that probably should have been darker. And I'm just getting this because, and I'm realizing why it was standing out. So I was watching the video on how to like paint the model I'm doing for the next one, and I'm trying to replicate it. So I'm trying to do Duncan Rhodes. Just want to let you know. So I'll be doing better than him when I put my model in. But on that model, it's got a furred loincloth that also has parts of the skin that are just leather, where where there's no fur. It's like the same piece, but there's fur and there's non-fur. Right. And he very specifically calls out that the part without fur is a different color than the part with the fur. So he like washes it and uses a secondary color on the leather that's different than on the fur. And I think if your skin was especially around the face and on those bare patches, was a different color, like maybe even if everything was the same color, but the wash only went on the fur, not on the bare skin or something. So it differentiates. It either makes the bare skin lighter or darker. That would have popped so much, and I think it would have put you over the edge. Because
additionally,
honestly, the work you did is just excellent.
Yeah, like especially I cannot say it enough.
I painted the base of the feet gray, and you can't even see them in any of the photos. So the underside of the foot is gray. It's a completely because animals' feet aren't what
are different.
Yeah, but I see.
Should have painted the pads pink.
Yeah, I should have.
So legitimately cannot stress it enough. I thought this was just a normal model, or maybe a Forge World thing that got legends and people got pissed off about when that happened for Kroot at the beginning of 9th, the Imperial Armament book. The fact that you did all that work, even with that, oh no, that 2 millimeter section of knee. How could I have missed that part? You know, but well, it's because you fucking painted it. Like it. The fact that I couldn't figure it out, to me, like, even zooming in on it, like it passes still, dude. Like, this is amazing. Like, seeing this all the only, like, and it's just to tie the bow for negative, it's just, it feels a little overexposed, like it lost, like it got desaturated, like the ice could, like, basically follow some of the same things Chalk said about the fur. Ice, I felt, might have been a little darker in some areas to show that depth, that this is ice breaking. Like, those blues there could have been pulled out a bit and made a little darker in the core, like with a Talisar, or like a Drakenhof, or even a Leviathan. Leviathan is a best wash, and they don't even make it a wash. It's just contrast.
Yeah, it is. It's Leviathan or Leviathan or whatever over gray, and then dry brush layered, going back and forth between blue horror and Korax white. But again, like, you can kind of see it in the cracks, but it just dry brushing under a fully done model once the model's on it is difficult, and not doing it this way is difficult because then you're not really sure where you're trying to put your colors. So
yeah.
You know, I did something on these that neither one of you guys pointed out, and I'm going to toot my own horn. And I'm surprised, actually, that neither one of you pointed them out. I did pre-41st, not century, millennium, paint jobs on my bolters on purpose.
Oh.
These are the old school way that bolters used to be painted up until like 4th or 5th edition. Bolters always used to have these red shrouds on them, and then it kind of went away from the hobby. Yep. And I did it on purpose because I wanted these guys to feel like, they've been fighting a very, very long war, and they've gotten all of their gear secondhand trading with the Space Marines or whoever.
I thought that was just a Dark Angels thing, because I had like a bunch of 3rd edition, like 4th edition pewter Dark Angels, and went, oh, that's just their thing. Red goes with the green. Why not?
If you could see
all the red.
Yeah, I love it.
All my Grey Knights have
the red, the old Ultramarines red bolters.
Yep.
Yeah, it's awesome.
So,
well, they're the special double storm bolter
the
thing.
Storm bolter gauntlets.
Yeah. So not to, I'm going to continue tooting your horn because I'm only halfway down the list of compliments on this thing.
Oh! I thought you were.
I wrote down a lot of compliments.
I thought you were done.
Chalk pretty much hit. No, Chalk hit pretty much everything. I'm a Yenta. Let's be real. But Chalk hit like all the things for me for a lot of the other ones, so I didn't have to like just repeat myself. But this one, there's a lot here that I really dug, and the fact that now that these are heavily kit bashed, just adds on to it. Like it's like a multiplier for my awe for this. When I was writing it all down, I was like, what are these going to be called? What are those? What weapons are these? Chain pike bolters. That sounds cool to me. And you should change it to that because I think it's still a better name. But I am partial to my own opinions. And it's just, I look at them and I go, yeah, there's a story right there. And then I see this fucker with the rocket launcher. Go back to rocket launcher, man. He looks so cool. I mean, look, he has a fucking Space Marine shoulder pad on him to help stabilize the rocket. All I can imagine is they're on this high, icy canyon looking down on these poor fools. and this dude decides to fucking emulate Milan during the fight in the mountain range and just avalanche a motherfucker, and that's why you have him around. Like, and there's a story there, and it's a good story, and it's a great story, and the weapons are garish and stark and like hard contrast to everything else, which really draws your eye to them, which is the point. Everything is old, settled in, and then you have this alien technology to them that they're using to the greatest efficiency they can. And it stole first place with everything being. You've rekindled an excitement that I saw in this when I came in to this with nothing but let's see what I like and what I don't like. And you've basically made me. You've passed the refrigerator test on this. You've made me love it.
You're not gonna hang this on the refrigerator?
You don't know? Do you know what the refrigerator test is?
This is great art on the fridge.
No, Alfred Hitchcock.
Okay.
Alfred Hitchcock's refrigerator test. Yes, he said basically if you watch a movie and you're sold on it and you can overlook its flaws, and then it's like you wake up, it's midnight, you're gonna eat some shredded cheese out of the fridge, whatever, and you're looking in the fridge whenever you're gonna eat. Go wait. That part. You basically retroactively did that to me by learning that was all one giant fucking kit bash.
Well,
that's why you're first place to me.
Well, thank you. Well, guys, I gotta do the totals. So drum roll, please.
All right.
I think I actually have a drum roll soundboard, but I'll take that. In fourth place, we have Kevin with 5 points, adjusted for, he didn't write lore. Never mind. Kevin gets 5 points. He got an entire lore episode though, so maybe we give him.
Yeah.
So adjusted for lore, 8 points.
No.
In third place, we have Marky with 19 points after adjusting for lore. In second place, we have Ryan, me, Goblin King, your host. Where am I? 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 28 points. And sweeping the victory by more than 10 points is Tom with 39. And if you adjust Tom's for lore, he's up to 41. If you adjust mine for lore, I'm up to 31. Yeah.
Something.
Numbers get bigger. But yeah, well, thank you very much, gents, for coming on and guest judging.
The best part is a lot of people worry about that two-facedness. They have the presenter and then the non. The only time you really see a presenter is when we do the corny intro or outro.
Oh, yeah.
Everything else is exactly what would be said if there was something recorded or not. And that's the best part about all this. It's just friends. People hanging out.
You know, I haven't actually looked at the video from when I was a guest speaker. I've listened to the podcast, but I haven't actually looked at the video.
It's fun.
I'll do it when I'm driving next time.
Yes, exactly.
That was a deep cut right there, Ick. Did you feel that?
Maybe. Calling me out a little bit, but I respect it.
If this is the first time you're seeing any of our content, we do run, as these guys just mentioned, a podcast called Under the Hive of Madness. We release new episodes every Wednesday. We generally cover lore in lore series, but we also talk a little bit about creative writing, and sometimes we do some roundtables and hobby episodes. If you have your own lore that you want to share with us and actually get it featured on the podcast, or you have some spooky dooky tales that have happened to you in real life that you want us to share through the podcast, because we do a horror segment as well, you can reach out to us at underthehiveofmadness@gmail.com or jimdarkgaming@gmail.com. If you're interested in becoming a little bit more involved with what we do, you can join us on Discord. That's another way that you can get our lore to us. If you would like to help see us grow in the future, you can find us on Patreon. That's patreon.com/underthehiveofmadness. There you'll get access to several different things. One of the biggest things that you get access to is the painting contest. If this is your first painting contest video you've watched from us, this is a little different because we actually judge the hosts. None of the hosts are getting a trophy, but when these guys compete, they are competing for the Red Squig trophy. So I suggest you go and look up one of our UHM Red Squig challenges. All of the spellings for everything I just mentioned is going to be down in the show notes underneath the video. Gents, do you have anything you want to shout out independently? Any social media plugs you need to make?
No, let's shout it out in unison.
The best way to follow me is you follow all my content for miniatures and anthropology stuff right now on TikTok, and that is Chalk Balam. Or you can find me on the Discord.
I am part of Objective Insecure. We have 4 friends who decided therapy's too expensive. Let's play Warhammer instead. The entire thing is we want to support and promote Ryan laughing over my plug. No, we want to.
Therapy is too expensive. Let's play Warhammer instead. That's a statement. I'm sorry.
God. No, it is. It's fine. It's more less of a message of the state of the day and more of a happy go lucky poke at everything in life. We want to promote positive mental health, a sense of community, mainly through tabletop playing. It doesn't just have to be Warhammer, but that's the way we communicate it through. And we want to show ways you can positively reinforce that and how you can take the steps to make your own community for yourself if there isn't one in your area. Objective Insecure, you can find it on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and soon to be Twitter.
Yeah, guys, if you need any of the spellings to any of that stuff, if you would like to follow up with Chalk, see the honestly pretty damn cool stories he releases on TikTok, or if you want to catch up with Ick and his group, Objective Insecure, the spellings will be down in the video description. Well, that's it from us. Thank you very much. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming on and guesting as judges, and hopefully we can have you back on in the future.